Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all for showing up tonight for the first session of the design track, the interactive design track. I'm really glad you're here, and I know that I'm up against a lot tonight because the weather is just so beautiful in Pittsburgh and wherever you're at. I hope it's also very nice, but yeah, I want to be outside too, so I don't blame some of the other folks that weren't able to attend. Hopefully they do show up though. Since this is a small crew of folks, I was hoping that you could introduce yourself and tell me, I believe you're all students, so what school you're from or what school you graduated from and what your interest is in design. I don't expect you to turn your cameras on, but if you want to, that's completely fine. Valerie, can we start with you?
Hi.
Good to see you.
Hi. I was actually starting to type out a thing. So whenever I clicked on the momentum, the amapittsburgh.com/momentum thing, I clicked on the Zoom link and it kept saying that it was waiting for you to start. And then I checked the email that you sent last night and I clicked on that link and it brought me here. So I'm just wondering if people may have tried using the other link.
That's possible. Yeah. Thank you for telling me that. I hope that folks are checking their email. Are you referring to the hub page?
Yeah, the hub page.
Okay.
It's a different link than what you sent in the email from yesterday.
Okay. I'll jump in there. I'll jump in there on my phone and see who showed up.
Gotcha. I just wanted to make sure that you knew, just in case anybody else tried that as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, hi, I'm Valerie. I just graduated from CCAC last year and I was going for industrial design and art. This is actually my second time doing Momentum.
That's right. You're a veteran.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Cool. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no
Julia?
problem.
Hi. Sorry my hair looks like this. I just got back from work. I work at a construction company. I'm in their marketing department right now, but I'm at Slippery Rock studying exercise science. So I'm just honestly just trying to learn more to help my career. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for coming. Okay. Lily.
I'm Lily. I'm from Western Kentucky University, and I'm double majoring in graphic design and advertising.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. Krista, I don't know if I know you. I don't have you for class. Where are you from? What's your deal?
So I am currently in my last semester of CCAC, and I'm working on a double major in graphic communications and art.
Awesome. Thanks for joining and congratulations on graduating.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Aishwarya, how do I pronounce your name? I know I butchered it.
Yeah, you're right. It's Aishwarya. And you can call me Aishwarya.
Fantastic. Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm Aishwarya. Like I'm a CCAC student and also a student in interactive design. My major is digital design.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'll be graduating this May.
Oh, great. Okay, awesome. So we've got a lot of graduates. So a lot of what we have to talk about tonight will, I hope, be certainly appropriate. So tonight's breakdown is I'm going to talk about the fundamentals of interactive design, and then Rich Helfrich will step in and talk about typography. And then in the third hour, we will have Patricia Diaz talking about how to create or how to design for social media. So it's not so much an interactive piece as it is you're designing for digital mediums. And I hope that you'll stick around and more people will show up. I did just change the links on the hub, so hopefully that will no longer be an issue. But I did check the other Zoom, and no one was there. So let's get started. Now I have most of you, or have had some of you for class. I think I actually have all of you for class now, except Valerie and Krista. But the basics about me. Here's a photo of me demonstrating how to properly massage someone's shoulders. I'm kidding, that I don't know what I'm doing there. I talk a lot with my hands. Anyway, I'm the president of the American Marketing Association's Pittsburgh chapter. I am also the manager of digital strategy for the health science schools at the University of Pittsburgh. Outside of my day job and my leadership with AMA, I am an instructor at Pitt, where I teach advertising and marketing. I teach interactive design at CCAC. I teach design and marketing at Point Park, and I teach user experience at Western Kentucky University. Previous to coming to Pitt, I was a former tenured faculty member in interactive design at Youngstown State University. And I started as a designer when I was 11 years old as a professional designer. So I've been doing this for my entire life, about 27 years. Outside of teaching and AMA and my day job, I also run a side company called Plus Public, where we use design research and design thinking to create data-based design solutions. And I'll maybe talk a little bit about that in a moment. And of course, many of you know this, but I'm a huge adult fan of Lego, and I build all kinds of Lego models and put them on display and have shows. And so that's a little bit about me, and I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you, be it in class or even this evening and throughout the remainder of the program. So what is interaction design? If you look at the Venn diagram there in the chart, you'll see interface design, you'll see user interface, you'll see user experience, and interaction design is a merger of the two, okay? So it takes what happens on the screen, and it takes what happens in front of the screen and merges it together. Interaction design is essentially the study of behavior and structure of interactive systems and the users that use them. All right. In other words, interactive design is the relationship between a user and the digital product and the services that they use. So interactive design typically is contextualized by being a website or being a mobile app, something like that. Being able to design a website in a mobile app for an end user or your audience takes a lot of knowledge. It has a little bit of psychology, anthropology, sociology. You have to take in technical literacy. There's a whole variety of concerns you have to implement into your work. And we're going to talk about more of those throughout the remainder of the hour. Okay, so that's what interactive design is. It's a study of, of behavior and the user and systems. But what's the purpose? What should your purpose be in interactive design? And since many of you are graduating, I feel it pertinent to say that you should be exploring jobs, positions, or even further education in interactive design, because that's where the most recent and newest jobs are being created in the design discipline. Okay. And in those jobs, should you occupy one of those someday, your purpose is to create a great experience. Okay. Whatever you're designing, you need to create a great experience. So think of the digital products that you use, your iPhone, your iPad, your Android, even your laptop. What makes those devices a great experience for you? Do you have great experiences on them? How is a great experience designed? All right, or defined rather. How would you define it? We'll talk about those definitions here moving forward. But One thing to note is you can have the most incredible digital product ever conceptualized, ever made, but if the user experience is bad, you have a failed product. I could create a technology that could cure cancer for every human on the planet, but if the screen that I would use to manage that technology is deeply flawed, or even just minorly flawed, it won't work. It will not be sustainable. Okay, so if you look at the chart there on the right, this is the general flow of the interactive design process, the things that you have to consider. The first is what the user needs and what they want. All right, you have to put yourself in the mind of the user. You have to study who they are, what they do, what they want, where they do what they want, etc. All of those things. Study them, know them intimately, know them immersively, and then you'll be able to analyze their behavior, analyze their patterns, analyze their perception and mode of thinking, and then you'll be able to design for them. And that design will lead to a working prototype, and eventually through the iterative design process, you'll eventually land on an implementation and deployment of whatever you're making, be it a website, a mobile app, software application, etc. So interactive design is also about the interconnected system. Okay, you're not just designing for like one screen. You're actually designing for a number of different interest areas. The device, the interface that your design will be seen on. You'll be designing for the context, the total experience that the end user is seeking to have for themselves. You'll be designing for the environment in which the device or the thing that you're making will be seen. And of course, you'll be designing for people. Take a look at this chart here on the right. It's wild. Like, where do you go? Where does your mind, where do your eyes start? Where do they stop? Okay. And, you know, interaction design is deeply interdisciplinary. You have to know a little about a lot to really thrive in interaction design. And you have to be curious and willing to research and investigate and go beyond your own mode of understanding in order to design for people. All right. But ultimately, interaction designers create meaningful relationships between the user and the screen, and however that manifests. Okay, this may include computers, mobile devices, gadgets, appliances. Like some of you may have a touch screen on your refrigerator, and that's super cool if that exists. Or some of you have a touch screen computer basically in your car. In your lifetimes, the duration of your career, you will be designing screens for, you'll be designing interfaces for all different types of screens all across the place. All right. You know, there are screens like when you walk into McDonald's to order your food, there's screens there, or sheets. Of course, the mobile app, like if you wanted to rent out a scooter in Oakland, use the app, but there's also freestanding kiosks for that. Screens are going to become a huge part of your life, and I would say they are already. And the technology that is being used to display screens is getting more and more sophisticated and complex, but also more versatile. So this is maybe where you can plug in to interaction design. So how is IXD expressed? That's the shorthand acronym for interaction design. It is expressed across the 5 dimensions: words, behavior, visuals, objects, and media. Words, the written content that you're using to communicate and convey message and meaning. Visuals, the graphical elements that you're using to enhance that meaning conveyed through the words. Objects, the placement, the size of an object, the physicality of an object, the placement of an object in space, in environment. Media, is it time-based? Okay, and then behavior, that's, you know, user behavior. And you want it to be, whatever you're designing, you want behavior to be familiar and learnable for the end user. So there's this sort of operative way of thinking where you want your interaction design, your screens, whatever you're making, to be intuitive. So intuitive that a human does not really have to truly work hard to figure it out. And it's a whole science unto itself. When Sheets first, really hit in a big way in this region, and you would go up to the kiosk, one of the things that I noticed that people had a hard time with is if they made an error in their menu selections, they did not know how to go back and delete that from their order. And a lot of people would end up just buying the thing that they didn't want in the first place because they couldn't figure out the interface, or they would cancel out the entire sale and start over. So, even simple interactions like that can have a profound effect on the total user experience. So there are 10 critical interaction design principles that I want you to consider. But before we get into that, if you look at the chart on the right, here are some qualities that I think you should employ in your design process, in your design research, how you consider your solutions. The first of which is curiosity. There is a sense of engineering to interaction design. You have to be willing to be curious and form a hypothesis on whether something will work or not. All right, sorry, hold on. Someone clicked on the wrong Zoom link, which point I'm going to say, check your email. Oh, sorry, Julie, I sent it to you on accident. Let's try to get as many folks in as possible. Okay, so you have to be curious. You obviously have to be a good visual designer. You have to have an appreciation for that, and then also be willing to grow your skills there. You need to be able to empathize with your audience. You have to put yourself in their position, and then you have to be able to thoroughly research their backgrounds. All of that will lead to wireframing and prototyping. And then if you need to, you can use a problem-solving process called design thinking that will augment all of your ideas. So let's look at the 10 here on the left. User experience, consistent design, functionality, cognition, engagement, user control, perceivability, learnability, error handling, and affordability or affordance. So what is the user experience? All right, by matching the sequence of steps, layout of information, and terminology used with the expectation and prior experiences of the users, we can design an interface that reduces friction or frustration and discomfort of learning a new system. Does anyone use the Procreate app on like your iPad, or a drawing app on your phone, or even computer?
Yes, I use Procreate and Sketch.
Okay, so I am having just a hell of a time learning Procreate. I'm having a lot of fun with it, but it isn't exactly intuitive. So I get frustrated with it. There's a lot of friction with that. So having spent so much time in software and interface design, I always felt like, maybe I was cocky or overconfident, but like, hey, I could probably pick this up pretty quickly. And I couldn't, and it was hard, and it still kind of is. So your approach to designing an interface should be built on the previous experiences of your end users. And because you don't want them to necessarily have to learn new things in order to onboard into your software. So I opened up Procreate thinking it was going to be similar to Photoshop, and of course it's not whatsoever. So you need to be able to match your audience's prior experiences and expectations by using common UI patterns or design conventions, all right? Don't introduce a barrier for entry unnecessarily. You need to be able to appeal to your end users. And if they can't use your software, your interfaces, then they're going to go away. They're going to find something else to use. Okay. So the second rule here. Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to mention one thing. Keep it simple, stupid. Always keep it simple and ask yourself, if this is too hard for me to operate, or if I'm second guessing my own design decisions, then you can pretty much assume that your end users are going to have trouble, at which point you need to simplify, simplify, simplify. Okay, so you need to also use consistent design. By maintaining consistency, you are helping your end users learn quickly. You can reapply their prior experiences with a particular application or part of one or part of another to maintain some consistency through the design. You know, I remember when there was a time before the Adobe Creative Suite came out, and every time since the Creative Suite, the interfaces with Adobe software have changed dramatically, like with every single version. I miss the days where that was consistent, despite the fact that they've introduced a wide variety of improvements. They have, you know, they've changed their interface too much. So you always have to relearn how to do something. One thing that bothers me the most is if you wanted to save a JPEG in Photoshop, you hit Control-Shift-S. Easy. That has been a practice for like 30 years. But for whatever reason, they changed it to Control-Alt-S, and it drives graphic designers across the planet up a wall. That is an unnecessary change that introduced an inconsistency that is now creating friction and frustration. Okay. So the more consistent your design is, especially if it's like the third or fourth version of something that occurred previously, then the better off your end users will be, the more intuitive the interface. Okay. Functionality. Albert Einstein once said, everything should be made as simple as possible, but no simpler. Okay. So again, keep it simple, stupid. The range of possible actions should be no more than what is absolutely necessary. So you can design a website or a mobile app with all the bells and whistles. It does everything you need it to and more. But if the baseline function, if it exceeds the baseline functionality, the default basic functionality of what you're trying to do, then it may be too much. Your end users will tap out. They'll get frustrated because it has what's called feature bloat. There are more features in the thing that they need, and it creates frustration when they need to make very simple things happen. So if I can't figure out how to make a simple baseline default thing happen because of feature bloat, then I'm going to move away and find a simpler solution, something that's more simple and elegant. Too many options will confuse your end user. So avoid unnecessary features. And then, you know, maybe you're designing something that has a lot of process to it. You know, we have something called a cognitive load, which I'll get into momentarily, but you can't put a lot of directions on the shoulders of your end users without reference. So if there is something that you're designing that requires a lot of process, step by step by step by step by step, break it out into smaller subtasks, break it into groups, make it more organized, and incentivize your end users to complete one group at a time. Okay. You know, for example, Blackboard is an incredible tool. It's not my favorite. In fact, I hate it. But there are a lot of tasks in Blackboard, especially on the instructor side, that you have to do that makes it so much more difficult to run. And maybe someday some of you will teach and you'll understand my pain on that. Okay. If you look at the chart on the right, there's three measures here. There's usability, desirability, and then the brand experience. Okay. Usability is, I am able to use the product easily. Great. Okay, desirability is the way the product looks and feels. So if I can use it easily and it looks great, then I'm having a wonderful experience. And if I'm having a wonderful experience, that will define the brand experience or the overall feeling about the brand product. And its sentiment, whether it's positive or negative. So understand that the things that you're designing, again, play a bigger part in that complex system than just designing an interface. Cognition. So cognition refers to the process of thought. Okay, a good user interface design minimizes the user's effort to think. Meaning, I want to design interfaces that don't require you to think. You just pick up on it organically, or there are minor contextual clues or visual cues that point you in the right direction. Okay. So don't make it too hard on your users. Don't make them think. Don't introduce unnecessary barriers. If you look at the chart on the right, you'll see the end user and then, the number of steps expected to take. How many are there before they get what they want? Okay. What's the perceived length of each step? And what's the perceived difficulty? Do I have to go back and forth over a long period of time across multiple steps just to get something easily? So you want to remove those barriers, okay? And then if you look at the far right where it says cognitive load, this is a term I really want you all to be familiar with, especially as students, because you have a lot on your mind and you have a lot of decisions that you have to make on a daily basis, especially when you're doing your work. So your cognitive load is defined based on the number of choices that you have, the amount of thought required for considering each choice, and then clearing up any confusion over the choice that you've made. Okay, so as artists, as designers, even as marketers, we're all making a ton of creative decisions every single day, and your cognitive load can get really heavy to the point where you start to feel burnout, you get stressed. Understand your limits here and adjust your problem-solving process accordingly. So we need to understand how much concentration a task requires to complete it. Accordingly, you can design your user interfaces to reduce the cognitive load as much as possible. Keep it simple, stupid. Engagement. Engagement is the measure of the extent to which the user has a positive experience with your product, with what you've designed. An engaging experience is not only enjoyable, but it's also easier and productive. Think about the mobile apps that you use, okay? And I'll throw this out there and you can just respond. What app on your phone do you like using the most? Any takers?
I would say Spotify, probably.
Spotify? Okay, that's a good one. Why?
I feel like it's really easy to navigate and always is like offering new things to discover based on like what you listen to.
I totally agree. In fact, I discover new music every day, and I love that part of the experience is discovering new things, and they make it easy and intuitive, so much so that they just serve it to you based on their algorithms. Aishwarya, yeah, the Instagram, I love that experience. Sometimes I'll just doom scroll in not the feeds that I follow, but like just the random stuff that it serves you in the search section. I love looking through that and just looking at totally different things. Valerie, yes, I agree completely. Like I am a YouTube devotee. I am on YouTube every hour of the day, listening to something, watching something. Starbucks. Yeah, I get that for sure. I think that's the caffeine addiction talking to Julia. Okay, so engagement. You want to create an enjoyable experience because it makes it easier and productive and encourages return visits. Okay, your design must engage with your audience, and you need to give them control over their experience that they have with what you've designed. We should allow users to concentrate on their work and not on the user interface. If I have to work to figure something out in every interface that I'm on, then I'm not thinking about the true goals that I have. And in fact, those true goals get watered down and suppressed because I can't figure out the interface. In short, you need your designs to stay out of the way. If you look at the chart here on the right, there are 4 areas of concern with the hook canvas concept. So you've got a trigger. What gets the user to your product, to your interfaces? What does the user really want? And then it moves to action. What is the simplest behavior to get your user rewarded? All right, they do one thing. How do they get rewarded? Are they shown something that may interest them? New music, perhaps? And then the next step is the variable reward. Is that reward fulfilling? And if it's not, do we give them more to keep them engaged? And then ultimately, through those interactions, through those engagements, does that make the end user invested? Will they come back and return to your app? And depending on what your app is and how much it controls your dopamine levels, then yeah, you can absolutely come back. User control. Good interaction design should incorporate control, trust, and explorability in any system that you design. If your user feels in control of the process, they'll be more comfortable using the system that you designed, the interfaces. This creates trust, and trust inspires confidence. And with confidence, the user is free to explore further. They'll download other apps. Does anyone use Duolingo? Duolingo has an incredible app experience. And then it just so happened that they came out with another app. The name eludes me at the moment. I haven't used it in a while, but I trusted Duolingo to provide a great experience for me on my phone, trying to learn new languages. So I download this other app and it's just as great. The trust transcends, it crosses over into new products. So intuitive interfaces are extremely good at stimulating users to navigate and explore your system and download or interact with other systems that you've designed. Perceivability. People are aware of the opportunity to interact with interactive media, be it a website, a mobile app, even video. They should not have to guess or look for opportunities to interact. Users should have the ability to identify where they can interact, when, and how. Okay, so this chart here on the right is sort of an indication of where they can interact. So you start with perception. Can I interact with something? Oh, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can click on this button. Maybe I can click on this button. I interact with it. That interaction gives the end user feedback that develops their understanding. It develops their learning, and they can continue to observe and practice what they've learned through this cyclical process. Or they can take what they've learned and transfer it into new contexts or looking at new things. Well, I clicked on this button on this website. I should be able to click a similar button on another website and it'll do the same thing. So you want that set of interactions to be consistent. And that's how we learn how to use the internet, for example. Okay, you turn on your computer by pressing a button. That is still true today as it was back in the 80s. Okay, even late 70s. All right, so this is where you get these learned behaviors. So you need to make it a habit to provide hints and indicators to your end users or visual cues, such as buttons, icons, textures, to indicate where they need to go next. Again, let the user see these visual cues that can be clicked or tapped on with their fingers. Don't obscure it. You can be overt and direct about it. The difference there is, what is your design solution, your design execution on that? Is it elegant and simple, or is it bulky and junky and it needs optimization or refinement? So that's sort of where the quandary may be. Learnability. So continuing this idea of learning. Users should be able to learn to use an interface on the first attempt and should not face issues using it again. That is true if you are interacting with an extremely well-designed interface, an extremely well-designed system. But there are a lot of crappy apps and websites out there that are just confusing. And sometimes that's because a brilliant developer that can code anything is not a designer. And sometimes apps are not made by designers. That is, of course, changing. And Apple and Google, when they review an app for submission to the App Store, you know, they put a really hard lens on the design of your interfaces. So you need to create interfaces that are engaging, allow users to easily learn and remember those interactions. Even through simple interfaces, even though simple interfaces may require a certain amount of experience to learn, like Blackboard or, you know, those other learning management tools, learnability makes interaction intuitive. Okay, so the easier it is to learn, the better. The easier it is to repeat, the better the learnability, the better the engagement, the better the investment. And the better the overall experience of the end user. Intuition breeds learnability and further engagement. So let's talk about the last principle, and that is affordance. Okay, if you look at the top graphic on the right, there's a gentleman there pictured. His name is Don Norman, and he's basically the godfather of interaction design. And I highly encourage all of you to read his book, The Design of Everyday Things. Fascinating individual, extremely intelligent, very gifted person. And he chose to talk about the design of everyday things and how design is in every aspect of our lives. And he takes a really hard and sometimes scientific look at why things are designed the way that they are. Okay, but he coined a phrase called affordance, and affordance is a relationship between the properties of an object and the capabilities of the agent that determine just how the object could possibly be used. So here is an example. You all live in a place. In that place, you have walls. In those walls are doors and windows. Your doors have a doorknob. Okay, your doors are also cut out. Okay, so when you touch the doorknob, you notice it can turn left and right. So it turning affords you the opportunity to move that object. The door being cut out of the frame also means you can open it forwards and backwards. So when you turn the knob, it releases the lock, and then you can open the door and close it. That's called affordance. When an object permits you the opportunity to interact with it, to create an interaction that isn't just specific to that object. Okay, so in short, affordances are cues that give a hint to how users may interact with something, no matter physical or digital. And you need to include affordance in your digital work. Okay, if your affordances aren't clear, you risk creating more errors, confusing your end users, and thusly creating more friction and frustration to the point where they tap out. They may never come back. Permanent disengagement from the end user. You start losing users, then your product starts to fail, then your business starts to fail. So if you look at the chart at the bottom, there are some pretty basic definitions for types of objects. So when you see glass, okay, the obvious quality is that it's see-through. Its see-through quality affords the opportunity to break it easily. Okay, that's something that you would learn through that quality. Socks, oh, these are wearable. Okay, it affords you the opportunity to keep your feet warm. Okay, a tennis ball, it bounces. Okay, it affords you the opportunity to hit it. Okay, so think about some of those things when you're interacting with objects from, you know, your everyday life, and then applying those lessons to the digital medium. So those are the 10 rules, but let's talk about the sweet spot of innovation. All of those 5 dimensions that I talked about earlier and all of those top 10 rules for interaction design are governed by this very specific mission, and that is the innovative sweet spot. D times B times F is less than R. So discomfort, vision, and that first step, okay, are less than the resistance to change. What that means is we humans are stubborn and fickle. Okay, we don't like change. We like comfort and consistency and pattern. We will fight change every step of the way if we have to. For graphic designers, for interaction designers, introducing change, especially monumental change, is really hard. Okay, so how do you get people to change? Okay, so to overcome resistance, you have to get past their discomfort, their limited vision, and that challenging first step. Once you make that first step, you're good. You can take the next step and the one after that. But really, you know, outside of that, it's the innovation sweet spot. You need to consider the center of desirability, viability, and feasibility. Okay, desirability. Do people want it? Okay, viability. You know, can it be accepted by a lot of people? Is it an accepted solution? All right, and then feasibility. Is it capable of being produced? If you consider those things in all of your work, then you will overcome the resistance to change, which will then allow you to incorporate those 10 fundamental principles in all of the work that you do. So that being said, I am finished with the fundamentals, and I welcome any questions that you may have.
I have a question.
Hit it.
So if there is a certain type of website or some kind of user experience that you've never created before and a client asks you to create it, what is a good resource, or where are good places to kind of research?
Okay, great question. So let's say you've never made a website before or designed an interface for a mobile app or a kiosk of any kind. It all comes down to the context. So if we're being general, the thing that I would say is, well, let's flip that question. Krista, are there any types of design or maybe some designers or artists whose work really resonates with you?
I mean, it changes daily, probably.
Okay. So to understand how to make good design, you have to look at good design, period, no matter where it's at. So if you have a client that says, hey, we're making you know, an application for a credit union. Okay, well, log into your local bank website, open up your mobile app, diagnose and be diagnostic and curious about how those things are designed the way that they are. Okay, maybe it's a restaurant instead, something more general and open. Look at restaurant websites, look at their competitors. You know, it's really easy to just type in like best restaurant websites. And I don't mean that to be like condescending, but that's one of the best things that you can do is just type in best examples of X type of website. or mobile app, and you'll get all kinds of articles writing about it, but also looking at those lists, but sites like Dribbble and Behance, even looking at the artists that resonate with you, the graphic designers that resonate with you. The benefit for all of you as designers is that you can literally look at anything and be inspired by it. Okay. You know, for example, I just drank this, it's blurred out, this bubbly drink. I'm sorry you can't see it. There we go. You know, I really like the typeface, and I love the solid color, all this negative space. It's got a nice structure to it. You know, you can pick inspiration out from anywhere. So I don't know if that was a satisfactory response, but you know, unlike other creative professions, inspiration is not always around you. And if you're a visual person, it is literally everywhere. So you can be inspired by anything. The difference is whether or not you consider what you're looking at to be truly good.
Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? Okay. Well, should you have any other questions for me, you know how to get a hold of me. I'm going to stop the recording and we'll take a break, and we'll wait for Helfrich to jump on and talk about typography. Thanks.